Hello friends, Doug here from 2 Plus Tough, and I'll be honest with you, today is a Saturday and I am just hanging out and doing some painting, nailing down a paint scheme for a set of models I'm going to be working on in the future. So I just thought I would turn on the camera and just hang out and chat with people. No real subject matter. Ask whatever you want to ask. I see we already have a chat here. Can we have a Vermintide live stream on Monday? Absolutely. Yeah. I might be, well... If not Monday, I can guarantee Tuesday. How about that? Just because Monday's a big day for some Age of Sigmar stuff. Catch the fever. But, yeah, so I'm going to go into the downward cam. We just got some soft, chill music playing because I like that. And, yeah, we'll just kind of go through a few topics that have been weighing on people's minds. I know a lot of folks are feeling a little anxious about... the new edition coming, so we can have a little chat about that if you'd like. Oh, sorry. Yeah, and just kind of just hang out together, honestly. That sounds real nice today. Let me grab a good brush here for some washes here. Here we go. Hey Doug, glad to be here for a live stream. Oh, hey buddy. It's like a brand new brush, so you have to kind of like break all the junk in it. There we go. Perfect. So yeah, today I'm going to be painting up. Let me just move my lights. It's a little bit easier for me to see. There we go. So I have here a set of 5 sequiturs. And essentially the plan is I want to try a Knight's Excelsior scheme. So this one... I've already started on them. Basically, they're primed with Wraithbone and then Apothecary White. And the reason I go with Wraithbone versus Gracier, because Wraithbone has that little bit of warmth that, you know, these guys are in Gore. It's like constantly sun-bitten tundras and desertscapes and all these kinds of things from the art that we see from them. So I wanted just a little bit of warmth in there, but they're coming along really well. So we're just going to keep that up. I'm going to go through and add the washed all little crevices that I need to, and then we'll get into painting the robe and stuff. Let's see. Hey, what was your first AOS Army? Well, it's not really an army anymore, because when AOS first launched... we didn't really have much in the way of battle tomes. I mean, technically there was the Stormcast and Khorne one, but they were a far cry from what a battle tome means today. I guess Nurgle, I had some Chaos Warriors that were decked out to be all Nurgle-y before Maggotkin was even a thought in their brains, I'm pretty sure. Give me 1 second here. I'm going to hop back in the chat. I'm just picking out some little tiny details, so I need to have my eyes down here for just a second. Okay, there we go. Let's see. Let me get brushes out. Hey! What do you think about the size of the twins? Thought they'd be a bit bigger. You know, it's very interesting. I don't know how I feel about them. I don't know how I feel about them in any context. Lore-wise, model-wise. I know I like the spellcasting version a bit more, just in terms of appearance. But yeah, I thought they would be like Keeper of Secret size, and they are definitely not. Oh, Spezia, thank you so much, buddy. Perfect timing, powering through finishing my second Ballista and crew of the day. Well, hang in there. The nice thing about Ballista is once you have 4, you don't need any more. Unless you're playing some real messed up open play games where you're just like, you know what would be great? Never having friends. Sweet. Okay, so basically, this is my test model, and so I'm gonna basically, I'm not so much worried about the weapon itself, but I'm more interested in making sure like I like the white and then the robe that goes around him. Let's see. Knights Excelsior paint skim. What are you guys working on? I see we got a ballista being worked on. A few other folks talked about grabbing paints, but what do y'all? Show me what you got. Let's see. I'm trying to find a picture of a Knights Excelsior that is specifically a sacrosanct dude. I know there's one in the battle tome. Secular. Let's do that. Why can't I find this? Tell you what, I have a digital version of the battle tome. I'll go crack that open real quick. Sorry, this makes for terrible live streaming. Just watching this while at lunch at work. Hey, Raymond. I hope you're having a wonderful day at work. Sorting out comics. Cool. What kind of comics do you like, Jamie? For me, when I was... You know, honestly, I think when I got to college, I just really struggled to keep up with comic releases. I certainly really... Anything Transformers, I'm an absolute nerd for, if I'm honest. Transformers is super cool, especially when you get into the real gritty stuff of like the Cybertron Civil War and all that kinds of stuff where you're just like, oh man, this is actually somewhat intense. Okay. So I have the picture here. Okay, Knights Excelsior. So they're going to have black robes with no. Yeah. So they have like a almost a purple looking tabard, but black robe parts. Very interesting. And then blue shoulder pads with gold trim. Okay. This I can work with. Starting on my new army, Daughters of Cain. Nice, Mike. Started collecting Death from Milky Joel, specifically Soulblight Gravelords. Love your lore videos. Oh, thank you so much. Building eels and sharks for Ideneth. Nice. Doing the line from Midnight Hunters from Underworld. Joe, what warband is that? I'm not sure I recall that one. So let's grab our black paint here, and as always, I have my mixing brush, which is just a piece of crap brush that I treat like absolute ass. And the reason I make a point to say that is because with this brush, I mean, literally, it's all the nice trim on the outside is worn off and cracked and stuff. Somebody will come into this chat like 20 minutes later and be like, why are you letting that brush get ruined? And just like get very incensed about it. So I always preface every time I grab it with, this is intended to be treated like garbage. Hoping to get Cruel Boys if I can get a starter set. Nice. Cruel Boys, I'll be honest, the aesthetic, I don't think it's for me, but that's totally cool. Not everything has to be. But they certainly, I think, are going to fill a role within Destruction Armies. Certainly Orc War Clans. I mean, they've already made it very clear that they're straight up part of that army, which is nice. Sorry, which is nice. I wouldn't mind the model where we have just a few armies, but there's lots of different, like, I don't want to say sub-factions because it's not really what I'm trying to say, but like the idea of Cruel Boys being on their own, but then also totally being playable like in a big wall, it sounds really neat. the idea of Cities of Sigmar having some established cities and then sprinkling in a few so it doesn't get stale later on. Also, I love that. Mostly Flash comics, a bit of Batman. Cool, cool. Nice. Okay. And we're just throwing some paint in here. Not trying too hard to be careful. That's kind of the nice thing about if you paint from the bottom up, meaning the furthest in layer outward, it's not typically too bad. You don't make a lot of mistakes. Even if it's something as terrifying as painting black over white, where you're just like, man, if I get that brush to move in just the wrong way, you're done. Spears suit Stormcast. Yeah, I like that. You mean the new guys? The oh my gosh, what are they called? Something with a V. Vindicators. It's either Vindicators or Vindictors. I feel like Stormcast already have the problem of all their units kind of sounding the same. Same for Space Marines. I don't know why. They were like, let's make our poster armies just the hardest. Like, okay. Let's see. Hey, Doug, how do you feel about the new battalions? Well, let's see. The new battalions. I'm not gonna lie to you. I'm gonna give you my honest opinion, but I'm hesitant to talk a ton just because I don't want to like screw up and share more than I'm supposed to. As far as what I think, I see a lot of benefit to it, a lot. And by that, what I mean the idea of the core battalions, which they did show on the community page, if you want to know what we're talking about. For my thoughts, you know, the idea was to address some armies being the haves and then others having the have-nots, right? And so, in that regard, in level playing field, armies have different ways of filling them. There's still, like always, you know, this game is never going to be perfectly balanced. That is my take on this. But doing stuff like making, you know, one-drop lists hard to get, or at least, I mean, honestly, I don't know if one-drop lists will exist anymore in the competitive scene. You must have some baller units. I mean, it still can, don't get me wrong, but it's going to be fewer. Yeah, I don't know. I honestly, I like it. I really do. I can't tell you, like, from a design perspective, because I'm, quite frankly, not that intelligent when it comes to army design. But in terms of, you know, it seems like a smart change that I just, on the surface level, like, and it might need a few tweaks later. I'm into it. But I'm also someone of the opinion that, like, whenever a new edition drops, I do not expect perfection. Like, they were like, this is our tightest rule set ever. No more problems with understanding rules. And I'm like, ha ha ha, you dumb bastard. You know what I mean? Like that kid from Mallrats, if you've seen that movie. It's not a boat, it's a schooner. Ha ha ha, you dumb bastard. Oh, man. So I don't expect perfection, so I won't be disappointed. Sorry, I'm looking away from the mic here. Just give me 1 second. I'm sure you all have done this too, where you buy a brand new paint. I just came back from the game store. I just played my first Crusade game of 40K and immediately forgot where I put all my paints I just bought. Is Kragnos good? Just to clarify, because I cover more lore here on the channel, DeWolf, do you mean is the unit in the game good, or is the Broken Realms Kragnos book good? Because I covered the book mostly. But that's a great question, Joshua. For me, yeah, in terms of just trying to address the haves and the have-nots, I like them quite a bit. More than anything, what the worst thing that can happen to a game is it gets boring. And I know there's a lot of people who are very frustrated about what appears to be the future of army and list design and stuff like that. People are just allowed to not like stuff, and that's totally cool. You all do you. I guess to me, it's just like it didn't steal any fun, and it provided a challenge that everybody has to learn. And I like that. I like when there's sweeping changes that everybody has to learn again. Because it does level the playing field at least a little bit when it comes to helping new folks get into the game, in terms of there's not nearly as much, I don't know. I don't feel like there's as much to learn. It feels very chill. And if I go silent for a bit, it's just because I'm holding in my breath to get the tiniest of details. Both? Okay, so as a book, here's a one spoiler I'll give you. How about that? If you are going to become the owner in, say, a couple weeks of the core book for Age of Sigmar, I would say don't be in a rush to go buy, for the story purposes, don't be in a rush to go buy the Broken Realms books. But if you are someone who just likes the story and the pictures and the art, which is, at that point you're a man after my own heart. Or person, I don't know if you're a woman or not. But then I thought it was a good story. I'll be honest, in terms of big epic battles, I thought personally that Bellacor's book was better. Because Kragnos and Be'lakor were both books where evil machinations were happening, and it was all building up to this big titanic battle. And I did like the Kragnos one. I just felt like the one in Be'lakor, which took place in the city of Vindicarum, I think it did it better. I just felt like there were there was almost no things that were out of left field. Everything had a plan and a purpose, and we saw it coming a mile away. I felt like there were far fewer Deus Ex Machina type things where it's just like, oh wow, that just happens to be right there? Okay, cool. That kind of stuff. Let's see. Question: can one large unit claim multiple objectives? My understanding is no. If someone can refute that, please do in the chat. I don't claim to be an expert on the actual game. I spend far too much time reading lore books than actually playing this game that I often talk about. That's why I love when I go to events, and I did this more in Seattle, obviously, because I moved during the pandemic, so I haven't really been to an event since moving to Iowa. But during my time in Seattle, I would go to events with Jack. People would be like, "Oh my god, I beat Doug from 2+ Tough. I beat a YouTuber. I'm so good at this game." And I'm like, bruh, you don't even know how much of an achievement that is not. If you only knew how mediocre I was, you would tremble before you bragged. No, it cannot. Yeah, that was my thought. Currently, yes, the unit can. Models cannot. Individual models claim objectives. So Vince, how does that work? Because if it's one unit composed of many models. How does that work? And also, thank you for chiming in and watching. Can't wait to see how Fleshy Records will play in AOS 3. Yeah, yeah. Let's see. I think... Okay. Tell me if this would bug anybody. So, one of my favorite color sets is the Ahriman and Thousand Suns blue. I love that just touch of teal in there. I think that's what I'm going to do for the blue parts. Because honestly, on a Knight's Excelsior, it's the shoulder pads and the shield. So there's not a ton of blue happening. So I think I'm going to do that. Also, I have a question for anyone in the chat. I love Baraknar Burgundy as a paint. I just picked it up and I'm loving it. What do you highlight this with? Like, just like a light line highlight just for the sharp edges of the cloaks here on the sequitur. What would you use for that? Assume you have a 20 model unit spread across 2 objectives. If 5 from the unit are in range of 1, they count as 5 towards that objective. And the other side of the unit can count toward... Oh, okay. Huh. Well, that seems silly. Are Kragnos' people extinct? To my knowledge, they are. Yes. See, I mean, it's never really explicitly said. I'm trying to think of that section. I know when he comes out of the mountain that he was sealed in, they're all gone. So, I mean, if they aren't extinct, something equally cataclysmic happened to them. But I don't know. But I mean, we also got the sense from the story that at a certain point he became so big and so powerful that he is no longer... I mean, aesthetically he might be representative of his people, but they are not all as big as him. Because part of what made him so big is that he started becoming a god. So they would be smaller, which I'm not opposed to. I mean, I would go for an army of crazy centaur people that are all, you know, looking up to Kragnos. I mean, honestly, they might even reject him, if I'm totally honest with that. Because he got so full of himself, and then he wasn't around there to help them with... I'm assuming something happened, because they're not there anymore. Are you looking for a similar color or a red? Yeah, Screamer Pink. But Screamer Pink is a... Isn't that another base color? I guess it would be. Yeah. I'll give it a whirl. That's why he's a test model, you know? GW site recommends Pink Horror. I think I have that one. I'm pretty sure. I'm sure I do, because I use that for gnarly skin on my Maggotkin. Yeah, if it wasn't still so wet, I would actually get in there with some... I might actually mix some Screamer Pink and Pink Horror into this. Try to build it up a little bit that way. Maybe find something like Galvor back red. that'll be good. Let's see. Yes, I guess I don't really know what I'm looking for, if I'm totally honest with you. Hendar. Let's see. Word bearer's red. Works if you want to keep it muted. Okay, Barcord. I love that name. Barcod. Yeah. Any faction you feel is underrepresented lore-wise, as in not nearly as much focus on them as the others. I'd say Gloomspite Gits are just sort of there in the background, even if Skagrot was in Be'lakor book. You know, I'll say things have gotten better as far as like covering all factions, for sure. I think that's a fair statement. You know, things like having the Seraphon in Broken Realms and that kind of stuff. The Seraphon to me are the quintessential, like, why are we not talking about these guys more? Trying to think of other ones. Beasts of Chaos have had almost no interesting stories about them. Every story starts with, and the Stormcast Eternal pulled his hammer from the severed head that was just nothing but pulp of a Bulgor. You're like, okay, that was your obligatory Beasts of Chaos reference. It's like, thanks. I hate it. Beyond that, yeah, I think Beast of Chaos is definitely one for Chaos. Destruction, Gloomspite Gits, I would say that. Order, Seraphon. For Death, yeah, I mean, Fleshy Records, they've gotten a few shout-outs here and there in a few novels. Like, I really like their role in, oh man, what was that book called? Nagash, Undying King. That was a super cool one. But, yeah. No, nothing too much with them either. Let's see. Trying to find my pink here. I found one kind that's too bright. Yeah, here we go, pink ore. Mole Miner, I disagree. What about Dragon Ogres? What about Dragon Ogres? Oh, I mean, I'm not sure what you disagree about. I mean, I'm just saying there's not enough coverage of them. Like, I want more stories about Dragon Ogres. I want more stories about Beasts of Chaos. The question was, who do I think was underrepresented? And I just think that there's a lot more that could be done to represent Beasts of Chaos. Do you agree? I mean, I don't know. Dragon Ogres need their own book. Instead of more models. Sorry, instead of more rules, make more models. You know, I understand that feeling. I do. They make so many right now. It's hard to ask them to make more. In my opinion. I struggle with it because I'm just like, you guys are just banging on all cylinders. And knowing how things used to be, with how slow releases used to be, it's like, so this weekend, we should all, if you don't mind, root for my boy, Jack from Rerolling Ones. He is out in Atlantic City, the land that God forgot, playing in an event, the LVO in Atlantic City, kind of a thing, I think. I think that's what it's called, LVO. But yeah, he's out there. I think he's rocking Lumineth, if I'm not mistaken. He's been playing around with a few different iterations of that list. I don't know what he ultimately ended on, but Doug, do you know about how long this will be? I'm gonna go, but I might catch the end of it. I don't know, probably like an hour and a half or so. Yeah, honestly, with these things, I kind of just go until my eyes get tired. I don't really have like a schedule. But go ahead, buddy. You got stuff to knock out. Go knock it out, and I'll just be plugging along. Where's my gold? Here we go. Question: how hard do you think it will be to kit bash the old greenskin starter box into some more Cruel Boys? I'll make you a deal. If you don't ask me how I know, and you give me like 30 seconds, I might have an answer. Okay, I'm back. Spezia, with, no idea what the Dominion models, are going to be like to build. I have to say, it might be a bit of a challenge. Not so much because of the aesthetic difference, although that is kind of a thing. It depends on how uniform you want your orcs to be. Orcs are awesome because I feel like by definition they can kind of just be anything. They can be a big mess and they'll still make sense. I could see it working if you mix them in, like rather than having a whole unit converted, just like taking a unit of 10 I don't remember what they're called, honestly. The guys with the spears, the basic orc in the set. It's on a 32 mil base, I believe. If you take that and mix in some greenskins, it'll look good. Especially, I mean, honestly, dude, if you're doing a big wall army of just like, you get your War Clans book and you just take all greenskin stuff, they're gonna fit right in. They're gonna look great. For real, because at that point, it's like a ramshackle collection of orc tribes, like thematically, and visually it'll all make sense. Noob question. It seemed like AOS started with GW condensing everything down into the big factions. Are they reversing that and going back into more fully developed armies? Yes and no, but I think to an extent that was always the plan. So for example, when they rebooted 40K not long after, they also broke down all the armies into small sections, and I think it's because it made getting the rules out there to people a lot easier. They had indexes, we had the Grand Alliance books, and that kind of thing. And then they did break them down into smaller and smaller little key sub-factions. I think, though I cannot confirm, the idea was, yeah, each one of those was going to be its own jam. And then I think they just realized that, like, there is not enough time to create all of these things, make them all their own sub-factions, and people still play the game. Like, if we take that much time, people are just going to leave, and it'll be a wasted money effort. So, they changed tack, which I'm not opposed to, for sure. And some stuff, it's like, it should have never been separated. Like, oh no, I got some blue on me. Let's see, how many painted armies worth of paint is on your palette there? Well, I mean, I've had this palette as I've painted, I think, 3 collections. I say collections because that could be, you know, anything from 1,000-point force to a 2K army. Something like that. Random question. Do you miss metal models? Honestly, sometimes. I don't particularly care for resin models. I don't have a problem with them. Honestly, I never had a fine cast problem. You know, I know a lot of people had trouble, and I've seen stuff on, like, I know it's a real thing. I'm not doubting that. I just personally have never had a lot of problem with it. But like, when I was playing War Machine and Hordes, there's just something real nice about picking up a heavy ass model. You know what I mean? I even went out and bought stuff for the game Hordes just so I could make a really cool warband for the game Reign in Hell, which is a sweet skirmish game that Vince, who was in the chat, him and Uncle Adam of Tabletop Minions fame put together. And even as I was standing at the store, just like holding some of those models that are still metal, I'm like, yes. It's really nice when like you're, and also for my Stormcast, not Stormcast, what am I thinking? Tyranids. My Swarmlord is the older metal one. I mean, honestly, the models look identical, but so there's no reason to upgrade him. But he's this hunk of steel that the last owner, you know, he magnetized him to the 9s, and I was like, yes. Let's see. Question, do you think with what we know about the focus on monsters in 3.0, we might see more dragons in different armies? You know, actually, let me ask a clarifying question, Lance. Vernon. Do you mean like that we'll see people, like factions that have dragons taking more of them? Or do you mean like, is Games Workshop making those rules so that when they cough up 1,000 dragon models this year, you know, that they might do that? I'm kind of curious as to what your thoughts were. For me, I'm unsure of how drastic the changes to heroes and monsters is really going to be. It all depends on things like how objectives are scored and stuff like that, and that's all going to come down to, like, you know, annual GHBs and stuff like that. It has less to do with the core rules that we're waiting on right now. It has much more to do with that kind of stuff. I don't know, but I've said it for several years that if I ever became Warhammer president, I would have fewer hordes and more monsters. So they spoke my language there. Okay, GW introducing more dragons. You know, dragons I don't know specifically, I'll be honest with you. They don't really seem to like dragons all that much anymore. I mean, they just don't introduce a lot of them, is what I'm saying. Like, the only dragon models... So we have the big dragon for Khorne, that's Forge World only. We have, obviously, the Stormcast, the Dracoliths, and the Star Drake. I just don't feel like there's as many dragons as there used to be. Certainly compared to, like, fantasy battles or something like that. Okay, I'm just looking at me model, trying to see what I want to do next. I'm going to grab... let's see, is AOS 3.0 supposed to be dragon heavy? I'd love a new version. I don't even know that name. Ergrim von Horstmann on a 2-headed dragon? I have no idea who that is. Infinity models don't travel well, even magnetized. Yeah, Yeah, that's literally going from point A to point B is probably one of the hardest things about an Infinity Army. I've said this before, but man, I just honestly feel like sometimes these game makers forget that like people just need to travel with their products. Like, man, it's so easy to forget. It's like that whole like adage about the architect who forgot the books. Like, architect builds a library, but he doesn't account for the weight of the books, and so the whole thing sinks. It's kind of like an old, well, it happened, but yeah, a cautionary tale type thing. I just feel like that's every miniature company of just like, oh yeah, we'll build this in crazy model. Oh yeah, why don't we have Teclis doing the Rio de Janeiro Jesus move from Tony Hawk Pro Skater off the top of his beast, you know, all that kind of stuff. And then us as gamers are like, come on, man, you're killing me. Dragons are a very rote fantasy concept that is hard to protect, and there are 100 alternatives. Yeah, I mean, they're not incentivized for sure. Just because of the nature of how hard it would be to copyright something like that. He was an old two-headed metal dragon with a hero. Cool. Vargroth the Scarred and Skullock the Skull Host of Khorne is the longest model name I know. I'm trying to think. I cannot think of anything longer than that. And of course, it's a Forge World one. They got to make it extra, otherwise you don't feel like you've spent your money's worth. And I just mean extra as in like make it sound over the top. Okay, this guy's coming together pretty well. I like him. We're just gonna throw some washes in some very specific places. We're almost good. Let me grab my... We can start doing highlights and junk. I found KR cases work well for traveling. I actually have a KR case. That's what I packed all my stuff in when I went to Nova. Yeah, they do great. I like them quite a bit. Let's see. Question. Last question. Oh, you can ask as many as you want, my friend. We're just chilling. Gives us some topics. Last question. Have you seen an Age of Nagash's Age of Nagash's YouTube channel? I was watching one of his vids and he plugged you as a great channel with great lore. Yeah, actually, Age of Nagash is an awesome dude. We've done a few things together. Actually, when I was playing Vermintide weekly, he was always a guest there because he just enjoyed the game. And then I just got totally busy and just, yeah. So that was on me. But, yeah. He's a good guy. I am a subscriber. I chat and I pop in when I can, although he does go live typically a little bit early for me, so I tend to miss, you know, I mean, it's early in the day my time when he goes live is what I'm trying to say. So I typically miss them, but when able. Believe it or not, I don't wake up at 6 in the morning. I'm like, all right, ready to talk about Warhammer for 12 hours. Heresy, I know. Let's see. Doug, do you think GW is going to replace the whole Stormcast Eternal range with the newer type of Stormcast? No, I don't see them. I don't see any monetary reason for them to do so. I mean, I don't know. do I personally see any reason to think that? Not really. I mean, heck, if you want them, they'll still sell you an old Space Marine kit. Kits that have been around since the dawn of man. Doug, what do you think about the AOS Soulbound RPG? Oh, I love it. Yeah, I was playing I was in a group for quite some time, and then just my schedule just gave up. They wanted to play later in the day than I could, and it just didn't work for me. But honestly, really like the game. I've done a few videos on it here on the channel, and I've just had nothing but a good time with it. You know, I mean, I'll be honest, the core book I feel like is not terribly representative of what the actual system can do. When you get into some of these stuff, like they have supplements like Champions of Order and a few other ones coming out, where you can kind of expand like the kinds of characters you can play as and that kind of stuff. I feel like that's, to me, when the book really hit its when the system hit its stride. But no, I had a wonderful time playing it. And I played it with a group of people who, some of them knew about AOS, some of them really didn't. And we all equally had a wonderful time. You know, for the folks who didn't understand certain things, like when someone drops the word like realms, right? Like that's a loaded word within this context. So like that kind of stuff, you know, we took some time to explain and that thing. But honestly, that's about it. It went really smoothly. NB Mole Miner, did you see my reply? No, I did not. Can you throw it in there again? I apologize. Yeah, if you ever want me to catch something on the chat there, if you just either type it in all caps, or if you say @Doug, @2+Stuff, that kind of stuff, it'll just highlight it for me. Makes it a little easier as I'm looking back and forth. Who got it worse, Knights Excelsior or Celestial Vindicators? I'm going to say Celestial Vindicators. I think their fight was like 1,000% more brutal. Because Bellicor kicked the ever-loving crap out of him. It was a good one. I feel like I understood the play-by-play of the fight much better when Vindicarum was going down. Because, like, you know, they describe the city as like this ring, and it's in a caldera, so it's almost like a bowl. So all the defenses are on that ring. And so there's this great story scene where they breach the walls, and I don't know. I just felt like at the end of the book, Vindicarum was in a much rougher place. Which honestly, I like to see. I like to see the good guys get the nosebleeds. Let's see. Forge World at Vince. What do you think is the best value start collecting box you have reviewed? Oh, Fleshy Records by a American. You could reasonably buy 3 or 4 of that box and never waste a single thing. Like, because of all the different configurations that you can build, and it represents so many options within the army. Easy peasy. That one's been that way since like time immemorial. For sure. Okay. Tim Lotchman. Doug, did you see my question about Gristle Gore in the new edition? I'm sorry, I did not. If you could, all caps or at Doug at 2plus stuff, then it helps me see the questions. But please ask it again. I would honestly, I'd love to provide any info or help or whatever I can. I don't know a ton about playing Gristle Gore, if I'm honest. Let's see, Doug. I thought you were saying that all the factions were being represented well lately, so I pointed out that Dragon Ogres haven't gotten much attention in years. Oh, I see. Yeah, okay. We were saying the same thing, right? You were like, oh, but Dragon Ogres, and I was like, I mean, yeah, they haven't gotten a story. Yes, and when I said Beasts of Chaos, I meant that as the sum total. So, like, yes, absolutely, Dragon Ogres in there have not seen much in the way of love. Although, what's interesting is, to me, they have the most compelling story. Actually, let me revise that. I think Beasts of Chaos as a book is quite possibly one of the most interesting battle tomes in terms of like an army's lore out there. I just love it. Okay, he's coming together. Gonna start doing some highlights on the black there. Let's see. I mean, Vindicarum and Excelsior are both technically standing, and Volgard full on fell. That is true. That is true. I mean, there's no hesitation there. It is actually a factual statement. I guess I just feel like it didn't fall in the sense of like a Chaos Army taking it, where it just would have been like deleted from the map. You know, it was taken over by another Order army who was like, ooh, need a city, take a city. Have a city, keep a city. I'm just mixing up a nice looking dark gray. Question. Okay, wait, now I'll make sure I don't miss anybody. Tim, I was just wondering your thoughts on the courts will be like with the new monster rules. Oh, as far as like Gristle Gore, who has a lot of monsters and that kind of stuff. Yeah, I mean, I love it, honestly. I love big monsters, and I love heroes, and Gristle Gore and Fleshy Records by extension as a whole has a lot of both, and I think they're gonna be great. You know, you're gonna have to adjust to some new things that were kind of indicated by some of the Warhammer community articles as far as list building goes. I don't really remember. So with Gristle Gore as it is now, how many drops is a typical list for them? I'm actually kind of curious now that I think about it, because I can't think of a battalion that they typically use. Or is there one? Because I thought all the stuff was just kind of wrapped up in the zombie dragons are just good, or Terrorgeist or whatever. Yeah, let's see. Animals of the Hellhammer got it good. Question from Vernon. In a previous video, you talked about how 2.0 changed a lot of what made you love the game. Not in lore of AOS. From what you've seen, is 3.0 going to be better? In a previous video, you talked about how 2.0 changed a lot of what made you love the game. Just for context, just because I don't know what discussion you're referring to, can you tell me what stuff changed? Like, what did I say? You know, I've talked into this microphone for a long time, and I've said a lot of garbage. No, as far as, so Here's what I'll tell you. With what I've seen, I am very excited. It has reawoken my hobby and my desire to do AOS stuff. I'm still going to continue to do like Conquest coverage and all that kind of thing. I love the game Conquest. It's just very different. But I was on a bit of a AOS burnout kind of a feel. Just because there weren't a lot of people playing it here, and I don't know, I just felt like the story kind of like stalled for a hot second, and then the Broken Realm stuff started. I see people's concerns of stuff online about changing the game, and I understand that for some people the game will change in such a way as that they are not interested, and that is totally cool. But for me personally, it I don't know, it woke up the hobby part of me, and I'm very excited. How about that? Was that a fun answer? Why does Nagash keep getting beat up? Because he keeps trying to take over the world. Because he's basically a worse version of Dr. Horrible, and every time he makes a power move, everybody has to be like, shut up, get out of here. Stop trying to make death happen. It's not going to happen. And then he has to go. Usually he pushes it too far, and all of a sudden he gets punked by somebody, whether it's Sigmar, Archaeon, Teclis, you know. Picking out some edge highlights here. Let's see. Question. If you have never read any of the I'm assuming you mean Age of Sigmar / Warhammer fantasy novels, where's a good place to begin? You know, honestly, I can't speak to Warhammer Fantasy. I only read a few novels there. I can tell you that I read the Sundering series, which is now a super cheap omnibus you can get, like a collection of books. And that one I liked a lot. As far as AOS books, I would recommend City of Secrets is great. It's a great little like self-contained story. It's relevant to what's going on in the realms right now. You know, like as far as like, you know, if you're worried about reading something that is not relevant to the current narrative or whatever, it's hyper relevant. Yeah. I also like Nagash Undying King, because that one to me is just a good book. So yeah, that'd probably be my two suggestions for you. Callous and Toll, yeah, and Callous and Toll is a if you liked Cursed City, two of the characters that are in that have a follow-up book called Callous and Toll, and it's quite good. Okay, I'm just going to give this a hot second to dry and look at the questions here, make sure I don't fall too far behind. Royal Menagerie Battalion. Okay, for the Fleshy Records, yeah. Honestly, I'm not super worried about... Because, I mean, isn't the whole thing with Gristle Gore that they can make battle line monsters? Isn't that kind of the jam? Or is it just about the heroes? I don't know. But I'll be honest, I've never played against like a true competitive Gristle Gore list. There were some, which is weird because honestly, I don't know why. I feel like there's more than enough folks who absolutely would have played something like that back when I was going to weekend events up in Seattle, but yeah. Master Shake, I love the Beasts of Chaos lore, especially their resentment towards other Chaos forces for not being the true children of Chaos they consider themselves to be. Absolutely. And that's a line, a model line, I should say, that would do real well with a little refresh. It wouldn't take much. I think most of the models, if I'm honest, I think most of them hold up just fine, but yeah. Oh, Plague Garden, yes, was a great book. Suggestion as well, yes, absolutely. Nakash has problems. To be fair, if he doesn't get beat up and he wins, the story is over. That's a fair point. Question: the Beast Snaggas, Squiggly Piggly, or the Cruel Boys? Not a warg. Don't sue us after a new orc mount. Question. Spezia, I don't think I understand the question. Or like where the question is. The Beast Snaggas, Squiggly Piggly, or the Orcs Cruel Boys? Not. Oh, I see. Which mount? Okay. I would probably go with the Beast Snaggas, Squiggly Piggly. I'm not gonna lie. I love that freaking model. It has to be the boss one, the biggin, because the biggin has a cool like angle that his beast is looking at. Let's see. Question: is there a go-to Daughter of Cain lore book? Daughters of Cain. That's a tough one. Honestly, if you want a cool story that involves a lot of them, I would definitely recommend picking up Broken Realms Marathi. It's a campaign supplement that just came out recently. Because it's a very cool story with lots of cool fight scenes with them in it. Now, if you're looking for a novel, I know that Black Library has a few like short stories and stuff, but I have not read them quite yet. I have quite a backlog of stuff. I honestly have never gotten caught up on the Black Library stuff since I moved. Like, it's just I don't have time. I try, but yeah. That's why I don't like the title of Lore Master. It's like, I don't feel like I read enough. I don't feel like I actually read enough of these books to earn that title specifically. Let's see. Question: did you read the Realmgate Wars? Yes, I did. I read both the campaign books and I think all but one of the because so they had campaign books and then other books that came out alongside them, like novels that kind of like filled in a little bit more of the story. I think I read all but one of those, if I'm not mistaken. And I like them. Like them quite a bit. You know, I think it's interesting because some of those old, if you ever see them for sale, those old like first wave of fantasy books that we got for Age of Sigmar, as far as like the story-based ones, they actually improved with age because now we know so much more about the realms and like what these people had in mind. People meaning like the writers, you know, what they had in mind when they were saying the realms and stuff like that, because we didn't get maps and junk until like second ed, and so it just really does, in my opinion, help. Yeah, no, hindsight's stronger is what I'm saying. So like I went back and read some of those older books, like my personal favorite, if you're looking for just fun little stories just to have, you know, like where you're like riding a bus or something, the Call of Archaon series is one of my absolute favorites. And the reason I say that is because you basically follow a couple of different Chaos champions, some of Khorne, Nurgle, Tzeentch, all that kind of stuff. And they've basically been summoned by Archaon, or at least his Gaunt Summoners, to become Varangard. And so you watch them walk their little respective path to glory, and they like fight each other, but they don't... I'm trying to how to word this. You follow their stories individually as short stories, and so you know all the characters, but they don't know each other. And so when they encounter each other on the battlefield, you're like, oh crap, I know that guy, I know what he's been working towards, and the struggles in his warband and all that kind of stuff. So it's really fun to read for that. It's like a little inside Easter egg, even though you already know it, but again, characters don't. So that's kind of that's what makes it fun. So I think you can get all those books, the Call of Archaon series, pretty cheap now, if I'm not mistaken. Like I said, I highly recommend it, just because it's just entertaining as hell. Let's see. Oh, just finished our Call of Archaon. It was a roller coaster. Very good book series. Yeah, isn't it fun? I'm gonna pause on the painting here and just get caught up on the chat here for a second. So I'm just gonna do a bunch of responses. Vernon, question: in Broken Realms, when Teclis told Nagash that there were greater threats, was this just to mention the foreshadowing of Kragnos, or was another threat mentioned? I feel like there has to be something else. Like, I don't have any, like, I honestly don't have any conclusive evidence. I just know that they were definitely talking about something. I just don't think it was, because when you read Kragnos, it seems like his breaking out of prison was like the ultimate whoopsie poopsie by Alariel. Like, it wasn't an intentional thing. And so I just feel like I don't know. After I read that, I was like, okay, so he just he got set loose, which is cool. I mean, it's a cool story, but I didn't really know what to make of it. And so I don't quite know. So I have to imagine they're referring to something else. That's my thought. I feel like they're probably referring to another cataclysmic thing that maybe we don't know about yet. Okay, yes. Question: are there any books aside from the Kislev one with dragon ogres in them? Not that I know of. Doug, are you going to get Dominion? Yes. Yes. Ralph, hey buddy, welcome. Just getting back to the hobby. Has AOS replaced Mordheim since it seems to be smaller armies? So, excuse me, had a terrible hiccup there. Mordheim, again being a smaller skirmish game, was actually more replaced by the game Warcry. However, the setting of fantasy battles, which Mordheim was a small part of, like literally it was a city inside of that setting. Yes, the setting has been replaced. Fantasy Battles is gone. Age of Sigmar is now. There's lots of references and connections to the old world that you would have known from Mordheim. But if you're looking for that scale of game, I can definitely recommend Warcry. I like it quite a bit. It is a very different one, but yeah. Lore question: in real-world religions, gods get killed and replaced and mortals become gods. Any chance a god like Nagash or Gorka Morka could be replaced, or a hero ascended to replace them? I don't know about replaced. I mean, obviously, it's a story. You know, they can write whatever they want. I wouldn't... For Nagash, I'd say no. I mean, honestly, he has a baller model. So I don't see that happening anytime soon. But Gorka Morka is a more interesting one because he's kind of painted to be this, like, primordial force of nature. Like, he just kind of was. And that's an interesting thought, because that means, you know, maybe he won't get replaced, but we might see a hero who is his avatar at some point. You know, I mean, honestly, it's kind of how they're making Kragnos sound. That he's not Gorgamorga, but he might as well be for all intents and purposes. Okay, so let's see. The last thing that I have to decide on for this model is what color to make the haft of his weapon, like the part he's actually holding. Let's see. Any book suggestions for Seraphon? Honestly, Mason, not really. Can anyone think of a good Seraphon book? I mean, honestly, it's a faction that I feel like is criminally underrepresented in Black Library. Doug, I'm racing to get a Soulblight Gravelords, I believe. Army ready for Path to Glory. How many points do you think the starting armies will be? I might be able to fit a Slaanesh army in too. Can't give any details, obviously, but what I would say is that the smallest size of a Path to Glory type thing should be very easy to achieve with a start collecting box and one other unit. Pretty low entry. I'm thinking silver, like coin silver. See, I thought about that, but I was kind of looking at more of a fabric type color, because you can see it's just and it does have a texture, like it is, I don't know. I think Teclis is talking about Tyrion and Malarian. That could absolutely be. You know, I mean, that's a great point, Hendar. Is like, yeah, Teclis would have known about a lot of other things going down, chief of which could be all the shady crap that Malarian is doing. So I think that could absolutely be a possibility. Or did you mean Sons of Behemoth? I don't really know. Let's see. I'm just going to call you Eshu, but I like your opinion. Unpopular opinion. Am I the only one who plays without objectives? I only play with my friends casually. There is no wrong way to play this game, my friend. And if you just want to set models down and smash each other, that is a perfectly awesome use of your time, resources, and enjoyment. And I hope that you and your game group love it. That's all there is to it. Enough said. Boom. The reason that I typically suggest people use objectives is mainly because not all armies are made the same. And if that hasn't been an issue in your play group, then don't worry about it. But, you know, for example, I was trying to do like a small Path to Glory league back in Washington, and we had problems because like the Nighthaunt player, they're just not a very killy army. You know what I mean? They just, in terms of wound output and that kind of stuff, they're a fantastic army. They're great because they can teleport around a bit and they can play the objectives, but they don't have about killing power. Versus this awesome player named Ben, who I played with a lot. Daughters of Cain is an exceptionally killy army. And so if you were just to line those two up and have them run each other, there is exactly one outcome 100% of the time. So that's the kind of stuff that I would say like is what objectives really bring to the game. But yeah. Let's see. They keep mentioning, quote, the dragon. Yes, I've heard that multiple times, and I don't know what that... And that could be Malarian, because he does have his draconic form. I don't know. That's so cool. Let's see. On the staff, blue leather could work, like Drake scale. Ooh, that's a good point. I'm also thinking... So these guys, they're Knights Excelsior. They're going to be in Gore. I'm going to do the same kind of Gore-ish bases that I did with my Orcs, where it's sort of like, what is it? Armageddon Dunes with a wash of the yellow to kind of give it that little like extra amber oomph. So I'm trying to think of colors that would look really well with that. Honestly, a brown would not be a terrible idea. If I did like a, what would I do? Let me take a quick look here. So we have a little wildwood. I'm not convinced Gore Grunto would look the best. Well, maybe. Hey Doug, are you planning to do any lore videos for the new edition of AOS? Nope, I'm shutting the channel down the second that book drops. On the third, that's it. No more 2+. I'm just kidding. Yes, of course I am. Of course I am. And there's cool things to talk about too. Let me see if I can get any inspiration from the weapons here on the battle tome. They always have like painted weapon halves and that kind of stuff. Honestly, no matter what chamber they go for, they pretty much always go for the Screamer pink style. Which I'm not opposed to. I just don't want it to fade too much into the black and the... Are Galen and Doralia any good? I have not looked at their War Scrolls even for a slight second. I've been so busy with the Kragna stuff dropped. I just got to work straight away on the lore videos, and now I got some other pots on the stove, so it's just like, dang, there's a lot going on. Question, Manfred or Neferata? Model, lore, and game mechanics. Oh, you got it, buddy. You can keep asking as many questions as you want, my friend. Always Neferata. Always Neferata. One, I like her model more. I never really cared for Manfred. Two, if you have ever read Dominion of Bones, which is a Black Library book centered around Neferata, you will not be able to help but love her as well. She's the coolest. I always feel like with Manfred, he's always plotting and scheming, but it's always like a comedy of errors, you know? And it's just like after a certain point, it's kind of like watching Cobra fail at G.I. Joe like 1,000 times. You're like, y'all are just not good at this. Like, you should really just find another hobby, or, you know, like Destro's, he's just not doing good. But with Neferata, so many of her schemes and stuff actually do pan out to the point where, you know, she created vampires in the old world and all that kind of stuff. I don't know. I just think that she's the best. Without question. Now, as far as units go, I remember I don't know if she still has this rule because I haven't looked at the new rules for Soulblight Gravelords. When AOS first dropped, she had this rule that if she killed a hero, there was a chance that it would become a vampire. Like, you could get a free vampire lord mid-game. And I just thought that that was the coolest flippin' thing ever. Cool. I think I'm going to call him Dunzo. I like him. Actually, I think I need to do a little bit more with that weapon. Yeah, I need to put a wash on it or something. Where's my wash go? Here we go. But yeah. Crypt Shadow, I'd like to say thanks for the lore videos. Oh, absolutely. You are like my Luton Lord Row for AOS. I know Luton, I don't know Lord Row, but I'll check that out. But thank you. That's very kind of you to say. So there's blood-cured leather in history for weapons. It was a type of weatherproofing if you wanted something darker. Interesting. I will check that out. I threw on the Vulpus Pink contrast paint, and I like it because it's a dash of color. Like it's much brighter in terms of brightness. It matches the blue shoulder pads a bit. So I might leave it there. We'll see. I might do a light wash or something later, but I'm happy with it for right now. Question, slightly off topic, but I don't remember you ever show. Oh, why is 2 Plus Tough the channel name? You know, I will be honest with you. I don't have a good story behind it. I was just looking for a name that I was like, what's a thing that like people in my sort of sphere, you know, I mean, wargamers and that kind of stuff, what's something that they would recognize? And I do feel like in that regard, you know, the idea of toughness and stuff like that was still part of fantasy. And obviously 40k, it's never gone away. So I just, yeah, I mean, essentially that's why I chose it. If I had to do it all over again, would I have picked something else? I don't know, maybe. But people seem to have an easy time remembering it, so that helps. You know, I guess this task failed successfully in that regard. Man, I am unreasonably happy about this guy. And the reason I say unreasonably is because I have wanted to have a yellow army and a white army because those are 2 colors that are very difficult traditionally to paint. And I had some Imperial Fist. I just at the time I really don't like Space Marines, if I'm totally honest with you. I think they're very bland. So I got rid of those, but I did paint a whole bunch of them. So I feel like I got that, you know, the need to paint something yellow out of my system. With these guys for the white, I was really concerned about, okay, how am I going to get that white? And then I remembered, like, oh, I've painted white stuff before because my army for Star Wars Legion is a Hoth army. I was like, that's right. I remember that not being so bad. 'Cause, I mean, with that army, it's a little bit different because there's a lot of textures and stuff. But so I just basically did the same thing with white here, which is you prime with Wraithbone, Apothecary white, and then you'll add a little bit of thin down shade into the crevices. And actually it is Menoth white highlight from P3 that makes all the line edge highlighting, and it just pops real nice. I like it. Apothecary white's one of the best colors ever, by the way. Also, fun fact, if you ever need to clean up Apothecary white, like you accidentally get some, you know, color on where it should be white, it's basically Ulth 1 gray. So I like that because that's also one of my favorite colors because it just looks nice and smooth. Oop, make sure I don't drop him into fresh paint. I think he's good. Cool. Let's see. He's super tough, 2-up save. Question, you think your Stormcast army will last long enough for you to hold through the first FAQ? Yeah, I think they'll be just fine. Question, you think your Stormcast army will last long enough? Yeah, actually, I have a series planned for these guys. Whatever the future Path to Glory system is, they have mentioned that it is very similar to Crusade, and with things locally here for me in my part of Iowa, almost all the game stores allow you to play whatever. You know what I mean? The CDC guidelines are being followed and stuff's being cleaned, but for the most part, we're in terms of gaming, we can go back to normal basically. The reason that's important to me specifically is because I thought that there were not a lot of people here who played Age of Sigmar. There actually are, and so I plan on doing a league, and so part of that league will be slow grow burning and building and that kind of stuff. Plus, the ability to add story to stuff has always made me like an army more. So I already have some names picked out for my boys and girls. And yeah. But we will see. Everybody knows there's 3 constants: death, taxes, and Doug's wandering eye. Just looking for any spots I think need just a touch of color. Also, I don't really know. He has something on his hip. Oh, it's like that crystal jar thing he can smash. Okay, I gotta figure out what to do with that. Honestly, you can't see it, so I'm just going to throw on some contrast just to kind of bury it in there. Let's see. Possibly divisive question, Spezia. Should the storm hosts have primarchs? Like, obviously, okay, so like some sort of like central leader figure. I don't know. I feel like they don't really want to seem to commit to that, you know? I mean, they seem to really love like picking heroes of each storm host. Yeah, obviously we have Gardas, we have Vandus Hammerhand, that kind of stuff. Hamilcar is a great story piece guy for the Astral Templars. But in terms of models, man, it really, with the exception of Gardas, it is all Hammers of Sigmar all the time, which quite frankly to me sounds very boring. I think they're a cool storm host if you like them, but what I mean is like having all your focus on one in terms of like thematic unique characters. That to me is like, okay, so they just get more options. It seems weird. But as far as like adding things like Primarchs and junk, I don't know. I'm gonna be honest. I don't know how I feel about it. If I'm gonna go the classic gamer route, I'm gonna say that I fear change and go with no. But you know, if it was done well, I feel like characters like Celestant Prime and whatever her name is, the one that's coming with Dominion, the Angel Lady, they kind of act as those level characters where they don't have a storm host. They work with everybody. And they just come in, crush a problem, and then go away. I'm like, okay. Oh, man. Let's see. Question, do you think Sigmar will ever get a model? I don't think so. I think Games Workshop really likes having their leaders of their good armies just kind of sit around and chill, as evidenced by a certain Emperor of Mankind and now Sigmar. Yeah. I don't know. Also, he doesn't seem like he's doing too well with all the changes going on. He seems like he's just kind of like always in his little workshop brooding about like how Nagash ruined everything. But honestly, I've never been one for playing the gods. Like, to me, as much as I love Nagash's model, I really do, the idea of that level of magnitude of a character being on a singular battlefield, it just, I don't know, it's tough for me. I would much rather have their power level, their strength level be more abstract and stuff like that. So like their armies do things, but they don't necessarily walk on the battlefield themselves. That's just a personal opinion. I mean, there's no right or wrong way, but the position of Lord Commander for each storm host is still vacant as of right now. That is true. That is true. Question: have the Firmier gotten much lore apart from their Foggy Isle in Guran? Nope, that's about it. Issue. Oh, it's cool. It's cool. Go ahead and ask your question again if you have one. You didn't mean to hit enter. Mordian, they say that Vandus is the favorite of the Hammers, and Gardus the Hallowed Knights, both of which are not entirely surprising. Yeah, of course. Master Shake, Doug could make money letting followers bet on which existing army he'll sell off or trade for which new shiny army. Oh, yes, absolutely. When will you do more Infinity videos? I don't know, to be honest with you. My problem with covering Infinity, if I'm just being super honest, is that like it's so hard to actually acquire the information. So like with like Games Workshop stuff and with Conquest, which is another game that I've started covering recently, you know, they have like very set releases that help you with the lore. But when it comes to Infinity, they'll release a campaign book that has a few units and then like maybe like a minor, you know, lore update for the faction. But in between those books, they'll release tons of models and tons of units that you're like, I cannot keep up and track down all of these various things. So it's just, man, it's just hard. No other way to say it. It's just a really hard game to try and to keep up with. And honestly, like if I'm going to cover a game long term, I have to be able to keep up with it. So to answer your question, I'm not sure, but I'd like to. It's a cool setting, honestly. I like the cyberpunk thing. Yeah. Off topic, how do you clean out your paint pots from GW? I don't. Like, if you mean like to reuse them or something? I just don't. I just toss them because typically by the time that I am done with how terrible I am when it comes to how I treat my paints and my brushes, usually it's not. It's beyond saving. I'm dead on arrival. So I think I'm just gonna throw down some Apothecary White. Absolutely one of the best contrast paints they made. Well, let's see. Spezia. Oh, buddy, thank you so much. More Stormground. Yeah, yes, I would like to do that. I think actually this coming week I intend to. I have a few videos that are scheduled for Monday and Tuesday respectively that I'm going to be doing. But yeah, no, we should absolutely play some. I really did have fun playing it. It's just, I was playing that and then Kragnos dropped and I was like, frick, I gotta stop and work on those. I just got kind of bogged down. But it is a very fun game. I enjoyed it quite a bit. Mainly, I mean, honestly, with the story mode, like, I mean, I don't know if I'd ever really play against other people just because I'm not really a PvP person. I will play, I'll be honest, my favorite game to play in kind of the background if I just need to decompress is Star Wars Battlefront 2, the newer one by EA. Although, let's be honest, the old one is the best Star Wars Battlefront game. The old school Star Wars Battlefront 2. Anyway, so I play that one and it's like, I just keep on playing the co-op thing where you're fighting against the computer. It's just like, I just don't want to play against anybody. I just want to hang out. That's just generally the kind of person that I am. Although back in the day of LAN parties, before you kids had your wireless games, when we had to feed a cord to connect Xboxes and stuff, my typical tactic for beating people, because I'm not terribly good at video games, is just to annoy the ever-loving hell out of them. So I had this buddy named Danny. Well, his name was Dan, and he hated being called Danny. So, when we're playing this game, we're playing like Halo or Battlefront or something like that. And the whole time, I would, in the highest pitch that I could make at the time, I'd be like, Danny, don't kill me, Danny, Danny. Kill the other bad man, Danny. And then but I would do that, imagine that, for 3 hours. And by the end of it, he was just like having a nosebleed of rage. And so that's when I would get him. I also revealed to an awesome guy named Aaron, who I played Conquest against recently, how I got into people's heads at the games I played at Nova, which was just act like I know what I'm doing, but like to a fault. Like, oh yeah, of course you guys moved you guys there. Like, what do you mean? Like, oh yeah, I mean it's an obvious move, you know. And then just kind of act like I'm countering it in every way. I don't know what the hell's going on. Just kind of make it seem like I got it all figured out. Weaponized confidence. Got her shoulder, got her head. Oh, here's a train going by if you hear a weird merp sound. Okay, lore-wise, what army do you think is the morally worst? Ooh, morally worst. Well, I'm not gonna lie. I'm gonna take Chaos armies off the table for that discussion. And the reason I say that is because, like, you know, there's not a whole lot of moral subtlety to God of Murder, God of Excess. You know, let's start there. But let's talk about. I don't actually think of death armies and destruction armies as immoral. They really are just doing what they do. I think if we want to have a real discussion on morals, I mean, Daughters of Cain is not good. They're not awesome. I'm going to say either Daughters of Cain or Deepkin. You know, I mean, even Carriage and Overlords, they're not great morally, but, you know, I mean, you can buy their morality. If we need someone to act nice and moral, we can pay for it. Let's see. Question, random, crazy one. Suddenly, yourself and everyone in the stream are teleported to AOS World. How long do you think you could keep us all alive for? How long do you think I could keep us alive? Oh no, we'd be dead instantly. You guys are screwed. The second, okay. Like, let's pick it like an actual place and that kind of stuff. Just to, the second I see like a magma droth coming at me, or literally any monster. Pick any monster from any faction coming at me. I am going to projectile vomit, weep, and crap myself and pee immediately, all simultaneously. So like, I'm not even going to pretend to be like, oh yeah, I'll be a stalwart hero. I'll be this cool. I'll be like Galen Van Denst, you know, with this big old gun. Nope. That's not me. I love that question. Can you put "Don't Kill Me, Danny" on a shirt with some Skaven character? Yes, that's a very Skaven move. Just annoying the absolute hell out of your opponent. Let's see. How did you prime the models? This is a spray of Wraithbone. And that's because I recently tried priming with Korax White Spray and it went terribly. I have had very little success with Korax White, if I'm honest with you. If I do need a white spray paint, I go with the Army Painter White. It seems to work a lot better. But I will say honestly, the contrast primers, meaning Gracier and Wraithbone, I have yet to have a single problem with them. I'd scream obscenities until it ate me. Oh, I think I accidentally grabbed 2 primes. That's okay. I'll grab a different one from... I have a whole bunch of these guys. Actually, I won an eBay auction to get a bunch of these sacrosanct dudes. There was a screaming deal. I think it was like, I want to say it was like 140 or something. I put a best offer bid in for these things. He just wanted to clear them out, and it's like several sets of sequiturs and that kind of thing. Like it was a great deal. And I'm a sucker for a good deal. It's like, man, I saw those, what are they called? Annihilators, the dudes they previewed for Dominion, and I was just like, I need Stormcast. Guy has a 2-up save. I'm 2+ tough. It's just meant to be. It's like they made him for me. Let's see. Question: Khorne Bloodbound or Demons of Khorne? Well, they're both the same army, Blades of Khorne, so you don't have to choose. But if you're asking my opinion between the two, I always go with the Mortals, Khorne Bloodbound. Mainly, it's mainly to do with storytelling. Like, I can't really get into the head of a demon. Whereas, like, I can understand a champion's rise to power and that kind of stuff, so that is typically where I fall on that. Doug will be the guy who gets teleported to the mortal realms and has a constant good luck winning in battles and keeping himself... Yeah, that would probably be me. Yeah, I just end up... And then they made me their king. The most unlikely of heroes. Archeon comes and he's like, bow before me. I'm like, sure, if that's how you want to do it. We should do that. We should have Canadian nice guy in the mortal realms. I'm not Canadian, but you know what I mean. Just have like the nicest person. Oh yeah, that's right. These shields have to be blue too. I was like, there's a reason I got so much blue paint. I got your back. I'm a former Marine. Hey, look at that. Bravery is outsourced to the actual Marine. There we go. Yeah, no, I mean, honestly, you know, it's one of those things people always talk about, like, oh, if I was in the 40k universe, it'd be the most badass, blah, blah, blah. It's just like, no, you wouldn't. You get a lot of that, like Renaissance Festival type things, too. Like, oh, yeah, I'm this, like, noble knight and lord's like, you'd be dead. It's just, there's no discussion. You'd be dead in, like, no time. I'll go hide in the library with the other nerds. Like, oh yeah, I'm totally part of the Collegiate Arcanum. What do you study? Whatever needs studying. Just, you know, always studying. Just kind of talk around the answer. 3 combat infantry tours allow me to 30 seconds longer. Yeah. Oh hey, you seemed a little unnecessarily sarcastic before. Oh, I'm sorry, dude. I didn't mean to roast you. I was just poking fun. Perhaps I should have asked if you're planning on doing lore for Dominion specifically. Oh, yes. I'm sorry. Yes, if you're asking that, like the actual story from that particular box set, yes, I am. There's not going to be much to it though, to be honest, because if you've seen the little lore booklet that comes with a lot of those box sets is what I'm trying to say. Typically what it is you get like a little bit of information about the units, which of course I'm going to do. I'm going to add entries into their respective armies. But a lot of it also is just like, how do I word it? It's not really like a contained story. It's just like a prompt to then play a tutorial game. So, I mean, the best example to me is like the Blight War set, which had Stormcast versus Nurgle. So the first time you're able to get Horticulus Slimix. And one of the things, the way that the story, quote unquote, worked in that is like, be like, and then Neve Blacktalon raced her Stormcast up to the top of the hill trying to stop the ritual, and then you would play your game, and then that would determine the story. Like the canonical, so to speak, ending would be there as far as like Stormcast winning because plot reasons. But yeah, there, you know what I mean, where it's like instead of being like a full story, it has a lot more to do with setting up tutorial games. Which is cool. I mean, honestly, you know, for a beginner product when they don't know who's going to be picking it up, that's a great way to do it. It just doesn't make for the most compelling, like, narrative. But I'll try, because honestly, one thing that this release has going for it that other ones didn't was that it has that cinematic video that actually captures it. So I'll try to factor that in. But Hawkeye, I really didn't mean to offend you. I apologize if I did. I respond to everyone with that level of sarcasm whenever, you know, like a new army is announced. Are you going to cover that? I'm like, nah, that's the one I'm not going to cover, man. I'm so sorry. You know, I just kind of joke around people. Let's see. Wargamer Willie, random question. What's your treat yourself favorite meal? Ooh. Treat myself favorite meal. Honestly, stroganoff. I love stroganoff. We're actually having it tonight because I'm treating myself. To be honest, we're partially celebrating because this weekend marks the end to all of our prior commitments with family, where we can just kind of like chill for a bit. We moved back to Iowa, and right as the restrictions were lifting, and so like our family, rightfully so, was like, "Oh my god, I want to see you guys all the time." And it's just exhausting. We're like an hour and a half away from them, so it's, you know, it just kind of takes up a lot of the day to travel out, but always good, always worth it. Question for that teleporting question. Would you rather be in Age of Sigmar or 40k? I'm not sure if a tank running me over or a Carnosaur scares me more. That's an excellent question. Yeah, I think I would rather be in AOS, to be honest with you, because if nothing else, you might end up in Azir. And Azir is a pretty safe place. So, like, safe places I feel like exist more in AOS, as opposed to 40k where it's like no matter where you are, it's just bleak misery. If annihilators aren't in units of 3s and GW gives me a 3rd straight edition box with undersized paladins, I'm a riot. I don't think you'll have a lot to worry about. But I know exactly what you mean, because yeah, it was, man, so disappointing when you look at Soul Wars and you're like, it's not a full unit. None of these are full units. What? Let's see. On Random Kingdom. So Baldwin was from the First Crusade. He literally got tired of losing. I don't think I'm familiar with that Random Kingdom. Question, do you think the Wood Elves and Sylvaneth reunite in future lore to make one army? Or do you think it's that bridge is burned? You know, as cynical as I could be about the idea of that faction reuniting, I like to think that eventually Alaria will come around, but I do not know. I'd like it if they did, to be honest, because as much as I do like the Sylvaneth range, and I mean it's an army I've hovered over the buy button for multiple times. I love the models. I do feel like it needs a little extra something that a human element, you know, maybe riding some cool beast or whatever, could really provide. So I don't know. So selfishly, I'd love them too, if I'm honest, just because I want to see that range. You know, I mean, every time they add models to it, I love it. Like, I like the big flute playing guy. He's crazy, but I like him. You know, who doesn't want a war flute? Let's see. 40k, we were screwed after an hour or two. Yeah, exactly. Guys, have you tried this corpse starch? It's really quite good. And everyone's like, don't eat that. Let's see. All right. My insatiable quest for knowledge would get me killed. Absolutely. Yeah, don't be asking too many questions in either setting. So this is my what my army is going to be looking like. I mean, obviously not quite, because I haven't done the base yet, which really makes him pop. But I'm excited about it, and I hope that you will join me. I'm going to be doing some painting videos. Well, tomorrow. Honestly, I might play some Scaventide or some Stormground tomorrow. Earlier in the day. So we're traveling to a wedding, but it's not until later in the day, so I'll have the morning to just kind of chill, hydrate, that kind of stuff. It's going to be 90-degree outdoor wedding, so drinking lots of water. Anyway, so I'm going to go ahead and hop off for the night here. Thank you all so much for joining me and for hanging out with me just while I kind of putz around and paint. I do hope you've enjoyed the conversation, that kind of stuff, and I'll check you out tomorrow when we continue these things or just play video games and chill. So anyway, catch you all later. Have a great day and happy wargaming.